Well, a lot of us were hoping this wasn't going to be the case, but it looks like we might have been wrong. The last gen consoles, now the PS4 and Xbox One, might not be getting updates in the future for GTA Online. Nothing obviously is official yet, but what makes us say this is some interesting stuff going on behind the scenes. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at in today's video. So if you're curious if, hey, you need to upgrade sooner rather than later, yeah, you might need to. And I know it sucks, especially if like you can't find a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S. Like, what are you supposed to do if you can't find that? But it does appear that you're going to need to upgrade if you want to keep playing GTA Online with the latest updates. But where do we start? Let's go ahead and get into that. This is coming from FunMW2, of course, on the GTA forum. So he posted some very interesting things this morning. You know what's interesting, he said, regarding the PS5 and Xbox Series editions? The build ID for these versions have been reset. The PS5 and Xbox Series build ID is 190, where the PC build is similar to last gen. It's in the 2000s, 2545 to be exact. And he does state here at the end, if the build ID amount is the number of days the next gen versions have been in development, that's roughly 6 months of development. However, the sub ID goes past 5 or 6, like the current one, 190.8 for the PS5 and 190.9 for the Xbox Series X. So we can assume there have been tons of variants of the same build. Now that last part, look, that's I think a whole separate topic. The fact that maybe the expanded enhanced was only in development for like 6 months, which would be nuts because they announced it 2 years ago. Then they delayed it. So did they have something completely separate before these 6 months that they were doing? Who knows? Again, that's a whole nother speculation. But the biggest thing is the fact that they are completely resetting the build numbers. And this isn't anything new. This is actually what happened when the PS3 and Xbox 360 sort of transferred to the newer consoles back then, the PS4 and Xbox One. Wildbrick actually responded by saying the exact same thing happened back then. The last update for the Gen 7, which is the 360 and the PS3, was build 897, while the PC, which was on that next gen, like the newer stuff at the time, was build 323. And we all know what happened to those older consoles. They stopped receiving updates. And that's sort of what Fun is saying here in this post. He says these new versions, these new build IDs, it's not a great sign for long-term continued support of last gen. He says they didn't continue off that 2545 number, which is what PC's on. So it's expected that by the time the next DLC releases, Rockstar would announce future updates to last gen would be no more. Now, obviously, this is just speculation, like he says, but all the signs do point towards them discontinuing support much earlier. And it makes sense because this last sentence, he says, eventually the developers would favor working on the newer builds than dealing with the headache that's ensuring compatibility between the new and the old builds. So yeah, this is something that's huge. Now, I guess the silver lining, maybe the slight good news is that this isn't happening like tomorrow. The next DLC is when he says it more than likely will happen, but that might not be actually until maybe Christmas this year. This year is kind of different with Rockstar, obviously, because, well, they released a new, we're going to call it a new game in March. So maybe we don't get our, traditional DLC release schedule. Maybe the summer DLC isn't like a major one that we all are expecting. Maybe the summer one is just more HSW cars, maybe some more little things like that. That's technically not like a giant DLC that wouldn't make the PS4, like the older console people, that upset at not getting. But then again, coming around to Christmas, when we do get those big DLCs, that could be the time where it all splits. That could be the time where the old consoles are no more, which is sad. Like I said at the beginning, it is sad, especially if you can't even find a new console, because I know they're still pretty difficult to get. They're not impossible, so like there is, I think, ways, but it's still not as easy as just like go onto the store and buy one. Obviously, nothing's been officially confirmed by Rockstar, and probably they won't until that DLC announcement. But considering they've done this in the past and then they stopped releasing stuff for those older builds, I mean, it just makes sense, especially if you consider the fact that there's probably not a lot of developers actually working on GTA Online. Most of them are probably on GTA 6 at the moment. So there's probably not a lot of people to actually work on both builds, like the older consoles and the newer consoles. So it does make sense for them to just drop the older ones. Now, the big question is, what does that mean for PC? Because PC technically is still with those older consoles. It's not been updated for the newer stuff just yet. That's going to be something to see, you know, what happens there. But this is for sure interesting because older consoles might be coming to an end. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. You know, will this affect you in a big way? Were you someone that was just holding out on that PS4 or Xbox One, just hoping like you could just ride that out until GTA 6? Or did you just bite the bullet and upgrade? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please drop the video a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe for more GTA content. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.